I love a good life hack. Things like using peppermint to scare off spiders and duct taping your phone to your head to create a hands-free kit. So when I came across a channel called Lifehacker, imagine my Paul Joseph Watson-esque shock at finding there was an advice video on coming out as non-binary. Now I know what you're thinking. How do you come out as something that doesn't exist? Well, I don't fucking know, because I get all the attention I need on YouTube, so I don't have to fabricate something that goes against all known science just to make myself feel as though I'm a little bit special. But if I did want to, this is the video for me.
My name is Key Williams, and I identify as a queer transmasculine person.
Oh, you love your labels, don't you? Is there a word for someone who won't shut the fuck up about gender? I guess the ones you've just said. Never mind.
And I identify as a gender non-conforming femme.
How can you be gender non-conforming but also femme? You've just conformed to a gender, you spaghetti-haired monstrosity. Pick one.
I identify as transgender non-binary or transgender non-conforming.
Funny, isn't it? How two terms can mean the same thing, yet there are still two terms for it. Almost like some people are going, yeah, we're the same, but I'm different. Sums it all up nicely, I think. And how flat is this guy's head?
I identify as genderqueer, gender fluid, more specifically.
How is that more specific? These things were designed to be ambiguous. That way you can lecture people on your gender identity without ever actually saying anything at all. And yeah, that's right, flathead. I said designed, as in man-made. And yeah, that's right, feminists. I said man-made.
And my pronouns are they, them.
No, they're not. You don't get to choose your pronouns any more than a table does. Preferred pronouns, I'll give you that, but that's in the same sense that I'd prefer women talk about how I make them wetter than a submarine with screen doors. In reality, I have no control over that any more than you have control over what pronouns people use for you. So in future, flathead, just say what you really mean, which is, I'm so entitled, I feel I deserve the power over how people talk about me when I'm not in the room. Was some dramatic ass music, wasn't it? Was that Viva La Vida? Or a queer version of it, at least. That's where they bend the notes.
I don't want to identify as a man or a woman.
Well, tough titties, spaghetti head. I mean, I can identify as Bill Gates, but that won't make me ugly.
There's so many stigmas that come along with either being a woman or being a man and societal expectations, and I just want to be me.
Well, you can't. Gender isn't something you can opt out of. It's determined how your body grew from around the 9th week of gestation, for fuck's sake. You think you can undo all that by saying my pronouns are they, them? Honestly, I know fucking door frames with a better grasp on reality.
It's a way for me to express myself knowing that there are no boundaries.
Good for you. So go paint a picture of something rather than trying to convince me you're some new genderless stage of evolution, because just like any album by Justin Bieber, I'm not fucking buying it.
Knowing that I didn't identify as a woman.
As if the dyed hair, shaved side of your head, and septum piercing didn't give that away. It's like a damn uniform.
And now knowing that I didn't also have to therefore identify as a man and just kind of float wherever I wanted on the spectrum was a lot of freedom for me.
Regarding what? What has it enabled you to do that you couldn't do in the first place? Besides believe yourself when you chat utter cod shit? Do you now have the physiology of a man whilst retaining the maternal instinct of a woman? Or is it more likely, because you're in the middle, that you're just shit at everything?
That feminine side of me that I'm probably not presenting at all hours of the day, or nearly as much as the male side of me.
Everyone has a feminine side, flathead. I cried like a baby at the end of Terminator 2. That doesn't make me gender fluid. It just means I respect the plight of John Connor and how despite that, he will become the leader we need once the machines rise.
It's just as important. It comes and goes.
Comes and then leaves. Sounds pretty masculine to me.
And that's why I kind of identify really as gender fluid, because I feel like sometimes I'm here, sometimes I'm there, sometimes I'm somewhere in between.
But what does that mean? Do you go from wanting to punch someone in the neck to worrying they might rape you? What do you mean?
So for a lot of people...
Ah, glad to see you still identify as a person, Bluehead. Or do you? Let's find out.
There's not necessarily a huge aha moment of, oh, suddenly I realized that I'm non-conforming, this is it.
But you can instantly switch from being a man to a woman. You can wake up in the morning and say, yep, I'm a Zer today. You can shove a piercing through your nose and all of a sudden be an expert in a field you clearly know nothing about.
It's more of, I finally figured out that there was a third option.
More like you finally found Tumblr.
My friend was telling me about this show, Steven Universe. She was like, you have to watch this show.
Because if the infrastructure of human knowledge says you're wrong about something, it's best to take your ideology from a children's cartoon about crystals.
There's all these characters who are just like us, you know, gender non-conforming femmes.
Yeah, you know, even though they actually project female humanoid forms from the magical gemstones at the core of their being and are, you know, fictional.
And when she said that word,
Fictional?
she was so sure, and I'd never heard it before, and it just clicked.
Well done! Inspired by a cartoon about magical entities projected from gemstones who protect humanity from monsters. You will take your affirmation wherever you can get it, won't you?
My biggest source of information was the internet.
The internet? No. Really? No.
It was just Googling anything that came to mind, anything from androgyny, anything from gender fluidity.
I notice you didn't Google that word. What is it again? Means the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation and experiment. Oh yeah! Science! No wonder you embrace the whole gender fluid bollocks. That shit is written by people who think they're gender fluid. They're like the Scientology of biological sex.
I wrote a Facebook post,
Oh, that'll do it. As we all know, if you're gonna make an ass of yourself, do it on social media.
and I said, I'm still femme, I'm just not a lady.
Were you ever? And I don't mean a lady as in a woman, I mean a lady as in a woman of good social position. I mean a lady wouldn't be arguing this shit in the first place.
I kind of just went on Facebook and was like, hey, here's what's happening.
Facebook again? Zuckerberg's got a lot to answer for, eh?
And going forward, I won't respond to certain things, and I will remind you when you misgender me.
Okay, but I'm gonna remind you when you chat shit. Deal? Deal.
My mom is super active on Facebook, and so she always responds in a really, loving way.
Yeah, mums are good like that. They will generally support you while waiting for you to come out of that phase and get a fucking job. But you don't understand, mum. Being genderqueer is my job.
One of my really good friends from college, she just really didn't understand it.
What a bitch!
And instead of trying to understand, she just kind of diminishing the fact that I was changing my identity. And I just explained to her, like, hey, when I tell you something about who I am, it's not up for debate.
Oh, great! So when the doctor tells you you've been subscribing to this crap because of an inoperable brain tumor, you say, hey, you can't tell me about me. I don't feel like I have cancer, and that's not up for debate. Flawless!
You're probably never going to fundamentally alter their mindset.
Well, not like yours, no. I'm sensing a link between your thinking and your flathead, namely that you were dropped as a child.
The happy medium, if you will, is where you can live your life as a queer person, and then they can live their life.
Without being corrected on your preferred pronouns and being told I'm invalidating your existence by using the wrong gender? I think not, buddy. If you wanted to just live your life and let others live theirs, you wouldn't be in this video, would you?
And you just have to say it and to keep saying it until they can no longer refute it as your truth.
Well then, how is that letting them live their life? And where the fuck did this my truth drivel come from? You do know what truth means, don't you? It's not something that varies from person to person. It has to be in accordance with fact, with reality. How about instead of saying my truth, you go for how I'm lying to myself? That would be more like it.
Most people will nod their head, but with an empty glare.
Yeah, it's an expression that can be loosely translated as, oh well, let the baby have his bottle. Bit of a grown-up thing to do in my books. Lucky I'm not grown up, eh?
I actually had a conversation at work
Don't lie.
with a coworker who is from Amsterdam, and they don't really have a word for they or them pronouns. He said, I just don't really feel comfortable calling one person they. They's a group of people.
In other words, I identify as someone who isn't gonna pander to your bullshit. That's fair, right? I mean, you can't expect people to respect your identity when you don't respect theirs.
And I said, it's not really about how you feel comfortable. It's about what I feel comfortable with.
There it is. We've reached peak entitlement, people. Even though you're the one talking, it's about how it makes me feel. And when I'm talking, it's still about how it makes me feel. This is it. This is what gender fluid is right here.
We consistently use they and them to identify singular individuals.
Yeah, Yeah, that's true. Has been since the 14th century, though this has been criticised since the late 19th century, and there was a time when he was considered neutral. See, there's always been people trying to control the way we speak, only nowadays they have blue hair.
Of whose gender we just don't know, whether it's, oh, the doctor called today, oh yeah, what'd they say? Like, immediately we know the doctor is one person.
Also true, but that's because of the way language has evolved, has nothing to do with people trying to speak in a gender-neutral way, and in no way proves there are more than two genders.
But we don't know if it's a man or a woman or something in between, or not at all.
I would never, and I mean this, never go to a doctor who identifies as gender-neutral, because that dude doesn't have a fucking clue about the human body.
So we just employ the use of they.
That's not the reason we use it at all. In 2002, Payne and Huddleston in the Cambridge Grammar of the English Language called its use in standard dialect rare and acceptable only to a minority of speakers, but likely to increase with the growing acceptance of they as a singular pronoun. At no point does it mention inclusivity for people who can't get a grip, and yes, I lifted that directly from Wikipedia, which means you could have looked it up too, Bluehead. Ah, here you go, see? Do you want your make-believe gender ideology to be taken seriously? Simply stick it in with something that does actually exist. That's why LGBT used to be about sexuality with the occasional genuine tranny, but now encompasses trans identities too. See, on the one hand, you can bolster your numbers, and on the other equally depressing hand, a lie is more convincing when sandwiched between truths.
I think coming out with your sexuality is great practice for coming out with your gender identity.
What the fuck? How is that? Are you suggesting gays are just gender fluid people fooling themselves? Well, if that isn't the pot calling the kettle a
They can understand a lesbian.
Depends if the lesbian's trying to talk through a mouthful of pussy.
Because it's like, oh, they have sex with women and they're a woman.
Yes, and also because lesbianism is a real thing that can be displayed through romancing and, statistically, domestically abusing another female. Whereas gender fluidity is nothing more than your taste in clothes. Oh, and a feeling. Don't forget the feeling.
But when you say you're genderqueer, people don't understand that.
No, I understand it. I just prefer my facts facty, you know, not feely.
Because then they're thinking about sexuality and that's, well, are you a lesbian then? And it's not really about that.
Yeah, but are you?
It forces your family to really understand something that they do not see.
I remember the times when forcing someone to do something was generally considered a dick move. And this is the guy that said a happy medium would be to let people live their lives. What a cunt!
I chose to change my name just because my given name is very much feminine, so it did not fit inside of what I had constructed as my identity.
Oh yeah, you'll change your name because it's too feminine, but you'll still keep your tits and vagine, won't you? Too much effort there. This is why actual trans people will always run rings around you, because they've come to terms with way more shit than fucking pronouns, whilst at the same time trying to live their lives as smoothly as possible. No preaching, no correcting the language of others, and just getting on with it.
I have a relationship with my given name. It is representative of who I am.
So, you changed it and let your clothes do the job instead. Looks like the comments aren't the only thing disabled in this video.
It's a Muslim name, and it's one of the things that my father gave me that we have a really close bond about.
You bond over a name? I guess you were always destined to find something special about yourself then, buddy.
There's still family members who don't call me by my name.
Oh, the name you've chosen. Okay, I get it. I mean, it's just a noise people make to get your attention, but it's not like someone who believes they're neither male nor female to make an issue out of something that essentially doesn't matter, is it?
And so learning how to navigate that on a day-to-day or a life basis, you kind of have to learn what to argue about, what to give and what to take from.
That's actually sound advice right there. Strange to think even a nugget of sense could come out of this video, but that does apply to a lot of things. Choose your battles, basically. Take the battle of the sexes, for instance, referring to the conflict between male and female gender roles. But what you want to hear is a new player has entered the game, and I'm just not having it. No, I'm not doing it. Just like an evening at an all-male orgy, this has been plenty enough bollocks for me, thank you. Though you will note the question is, what advice do you have for people coming out? Like coming out as non-binary is a real thing. I mean, have you ever seen a teenager who dresses in black and wears thick eye makeup and shit say, Mum, Dad, I'm a goth? No! It's fucking obvious from the way you dress, which is also where your identity begins and ends. And it's something you'll most likely grow out of, so no worries, bucko. You do you, and let Daddy know when you need picking up from the park. Thanks for watching, guys! Please consider becoming a patron to help keep this channel running, because with the whole 90 cents YouTube pays me per video, you're all I've got. And check me out on BitChute so I can hopefully wriggle my way out of these economic sanctions. I mean, what am I? Russia? The links are in the description, and remember, you can explain genderqueer in 3 words. Me, me, me.